Alrighty then, today we're going to do the disassembly, cleaning, and hopefully reassembly and test of a very nice Illinois Bunn Special pocket watch provided by JP from North Carolina. Thank you, JP, for sending this to me. And as you can see, this is just a gorgeous watch with the Gothic graphics on it. I did a review of this watch earlier. I'm not going to wind this up because I'll have to take the power off it. But this is just a gorgeous watch. So I'm going to be very careful with this watch today. A brand new pair of gloves on for today's work as I get closer to that movement, and it gets more and more difficult to get in there without putting fingerprints on the movement. So we're going to start working on this movement right now. Alright, just to let you know, it is a very scary thing for me to work on such a gorgeous movement. If it's mine, I'm not usually as nervous, but if it's someone else's, I'm usually pretty nervous. So as you've seen over the years, I've worked on many pocket watches, and of all types, and they all have their personality. And this one here has got a lot of personality. So even removing the crystal here was scary. So because this watch is in such nice condition, I just, I could just let it go the way it is, but it hasn't been cleaned in a long time, and it does have issues with keeping time properly. And Bori said, hey, can you do something like that? So I think I got at least $2,000 in the bank for my insurance just in case I screw this up. So I've got to align the hands up here before I take these off. I'm checking the feeling of the motion here too. This is an old watch. It's a full plate pocket watch. See that right there? I did this going backwards and the gear is stuck a bit. And nothing has happened yet. And that's going backwards. So you don't want to force anything on this watch. So I put the hands at 9 o'clock to remove the hands properly, and then I'll get out the appropriate tools. I think I may have to play with the lighting a bit here to make sure that the lighting is good for this particular watch and for observing the video properly. All right, let's take those hands off, and we've got a piece of plastic you lay on top here. And then you put the hand grabbers just underneath like this, and then you go straight up using the leverage to remove the hands, and that does that nicely. And sometimes I pick these up at Rodico. You gotta really watch the face when you're working with a high-end watch like this. You don't want to mar the face at all. So I'm keeping a very good close eye on the face on this watch to make sure there's no it takes a lot longer to do a watch like this, only because of the care you've got to take, right? So it's not easy, and it scares me, like I said already. So even removing the second hand is a little bit unnerving. So I just tuck this in, see if I can tuck this in. It's going to cause me some issues here, I know it. So I'm going to see if I can make it a bit smaller. I'm going to take a piece of paper here and then cut it down with a pair of scissors that don't seem to be available right now. Alright, my wife stole my scissors. Oh, no she didn't. Here they are. Gotta stop blaming her for stuff. So I just need a bit of a V-cut here, and I want to slide this underneath. Nice and easy. I don't need a lot of room here to do this. I'll try that V-cut again here. Just a bit of a V-cut. See if this works. I'm actually holding my breath when I do this. So it's also toothpick central with a watch like this, because you don't want to mar the face at all. So I just want to slide this piece of paper right underneath the second hand. Now you see that? How nice that is? So that's in there nicely. And then I can I don't want to, I just have to nudge this thing out. Usually I use a screwdriver to nudge it out, but I may try to use my hand removers to do that today. I gotta tell BJ, don't be sending me these expensive watches anymore. They're scary. It's too scary for me. Hard on my heart. Although I'm starting to do a lot of expensive watches lately. Only because of I think people see the care I take in doing them, and they want me to take the same care with their watch as I do with the ones I work on. So there we go. The seconds hand is now out. Let me grab that and then get that out of the way. Everything's got to be out of the way so nothing gets damaged. And very carefully pick up this piece of paper, and I can just toss that away. I don't need it anymore. I'll save it in my pile of real smallest pieces of paper. There we go. And get rid of that. And you'll notice today I've got a brand new mat on here. Look at that, eh? Put a brand new mat on here for this job. This is the mat that changed the world. I asked my wife, I said, do we have any more of these mats? Because I'm doing a brand new watch today, and I don't want to have a shitty mat underneath a really nice watch, because that would be nasty and wrong. Just putting everything back where it belongs while I'm chatting away here. So there we go. So now the hands are off. So I've got to flip it over and take the screws off to disassemble get the movement out, basically. All right, let's just flip this guy over here. As I said, I ran the power on it, so I don't have to worry about power. Always press the crown down when you close the lid, because that's a good way of ruining it. So I've got nice gloves on today, and my fingernail is like the best thing in the world. I'm glad that I play guitar, because that fingernail is really handy. Now, I think before I do anything on this watch, I'm going to remove this balance. So I don't like to work on this while the balance is in. And I'm going to remove the balance and put that on the balance tack. I may lay it down or put it on the balance tack. But first of all, I got to see how low this thing goes. So if it goes low enough, I can rest it on this balance tack. And the balance will rest on these pads and sit through there. So if that's doable, that's preferable. So, and I know I can remove the balance on these full plate pocket watches without taking the movement out. I believe I can. Should I though? Should I though? Let me loosen the screw up and see. So that way the movement can come out without any danger at all, right? So let me just. This thing has not been worked on in 1,000 years. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to actually put this in my little tiny balance tray here, because I always know where those are then. And if this doesn't come out, I'm going to, and you want to nudge it where you can't see it. So I'm going to have to get in a little close here, and because if this is not nudgeable from the side, then I may put the screw back in and take out the movement. Yeah, I think I'm going to put the screw back in and take out the movement, because I don't want to mar the side either. So you don't want to put marks at all on the side. So you want to be very careful not to do that. So in this case, I think I will leave the balance in while I take the movement out, and then go from there. And I don't really have to tighten that up a lot. So I should check my exposure on my camera here. So I got it on auto exposure, so I'm going to just lighten that up just a bit. It's like that. That should do. And hit apply, so it allows me to do this. So let me just loosen the screws, the case screws on this. So there's a half case screw here and another case screw here. This screw here doesn't look like it's part of it, but I guess it is. It's part of the full plate, but it's not rounded. It's flat on the top, so it might not be part of the whole deal here. So that's odd. So in this watch here, I do not believe that I can pull the crown out. to take out the movement. I think you leave the crown like that, and then you loosen it, and then you drop the movement out. So I'm going to loosen this case screw right here. And it's a half case screw, which is interesting, which means you can just move it to the halfway part and leave it like that. And then the other case screw, you just do that with, and I need to remove this case screw completely. Right. And that will I think that screw I can take out now. So that's one of the case screws. I'm going to stab myself with this any second now. I think I can leave this case screw in now and then take it out the other way. So let me just flip this over now because it's loose. And I should be able to drop the movement onto my fingers. And we'll see what happens here. There, I was absolutely correct. And I'm going to put the movement aside. I'm going to rest it on my table here, but I don't want it to get scratched. So it's wooden, so it's not too bad. So there we go. That's the movement there. And like I said before, I can take the balance off any time, but I think I want to get take the dial off before I take the balance off, because I want to rest it in a movement holder, right? Unless I put it in my nice fancy holder on the top. So let me just rest it down on the ground for a sec. It should be fine on this mat here, like so. And I'll get my other movement holder. So as I said before, this is a fully jeweled watch. It's got, I believe it's got 24, yeah, it says 24 jewels. I mentioned this before, 24 ruby jewels. And they're kind of showing off here because people would like to show off their movements. And these are gold settings. These are in gold settings. It says in its Gothic print, fully adjusted, and I mentioned what a safety pinion was before, and that's if the mainspring lets go. It'll snap, and the safety pinion is actually screwed into the shaft for the gear, and the safety pinion will just roll back, and it won't break the center wheel pinion or pivots. So it's the safety pinion is in the center wheel because the mainspring barrel is pushing against that center wheel. So that's how that works. So, but I still would like to get that balance off of there before I start moving things, because I don't want any chance of fouling the balance at all. Even though my last couple of videos I was doing some adjusting on balances. I did actually one of BJ's very high-end 24 jewel Elgin watch. I corrected the beat error on that and got it running like a beauty. So I know it's scary, but I can still do it. So it's just that these get a finer screwdriver to get this up, because and if I just can wedge it in here, and it doesn't, any potential marks on the thing are not left in the face of the movement. So get the corner maybe and lift it up from there. This thing hasn't been lifted up in 100 years, so. And you just put your screwdriver in like I just did there, and you just move it along. And now when I lift this up, I want to lift it up and then move everything out of the way, and then put it on the balance tack. So, and I'll have the balance tack this way just in case the spring allows me to rest the balance on here, so, which would be perfect. So I'm just praying and hoping. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to make it all the way down. It's almost all the way down. It's very close. So there it is there. The balance is on the tack right now. I think I can leave it on the tack. I don't know if there's any issue. I don't think there's any issue with that. let me see if I can double pad this. So I get another pad here, as you can see, and I can adjust this here so you can see what I'm doing. And I can take this pad and put this on here as well. I just want to support the arms of the balance so that there's no pressure at all on the hairspring. That just allows me to put some relief on there. So just lift the balance up just ever so slightly, like so, and then just put this pad underneath, like so. And then when I drop the balance like this, it's resting on that pad. See that? So now I don't really have any stress on that hairspring. It's not going beyond where it would normally go. And now I want to get this hairspring way out of the way. So that's the balance cock and the bridge and the hairspring, or the balance bridge and the balance itself, and then the hairspring. And I kept that screw. I guess I can move the screw to the same balance cock or balance holder, and you can see the work up in the upper corner too, which is nice. So and hopefully you watched my video on the Waltham. See, I can just throw that in really fast. There's the Waltham, and it's running super well, and it's keeping super time. So this Waltham is actually working really well now, and it's 222 right now, and the Waltham says 222. Guess what? I'm just waiting for a black patent leather strap for the Waltham. So the next step here is to get the face off the watch, and just make sure I got everything focused nicely. Yeah. So I'm not going to bother changing the focus when I take the face off. I just have to get the right screwdriver and just line my screwdrivers up properly here so I don't make a mess of this. I also want to get those watch hands off of this too. I usually put the watch hands in the case itself, right? So these this face, I can loosen this screw here, and like I said before, when you loosen these screws, get a really good grip on the on your screwdriver, and as though you're not moving it at all. It's kind of like in martial arts when you're ready to throw a punch. You don't throw the punch, you build up the power, and then you throw the punch. So this is exactly the same way. You build up the power with your screwdriver, and then you turn it, and it's under a lot of control. And you don't have to worry about it slipping or anything. So you just build the power up, turn it like that, and then you get total control over that. And you can put a lot of force on it without putting any force on it. Which is kind of odd, but that's what you do. So here I've got the face should come off, and I got the balance out of the way now, so I'm not afraid of anything. So I just have to put my screwdriver under here and lift. And it's a little different with gloves, because usually I use my fingernail to get under there to keep the face lifted while I rotate, and then lift some more, and then rotate, and then lift some more, and then rotate, and then lift some more. Hopefully it's not going down on the other side. Lift some more, and then is that going to come off? It's getting close. Oh, look at that. There we go. So there it is, and there's the dial feet, and they look like they're in very good condition. So I'm going to put this over here as well, get rid of that. And there's the watch, and I can rest this on the nice plastic, on the nice pad here, because it's very well protected. And I've got the, as you can see in the upper right, left-hand picture, I've got this opened up right now, so I can probably, I think I want to put this on top of here so I don't worry about it. I just want to rest it on top, just like that. Kind of like the way it is when you put it on. So I'll just rest it like that. I won't close the lid on it, and I'll just move this out of the way. I want to put a business card down or something, right? So I was doing some math on measuring with my new micrometer that I have, so the vertical micrometer. So these are, I often do squirrel moments when I make a video. That's for your viewing pleasure. Viewing pleasure. Now, alright, so now the next step is just to take a couple of these components off. But before I do, I just want to have just bask in the beautifulness of this pocket watch. This is gorgeous. So all these little circles made around the plate, they're made by a drill that the watch factory has, and the person actually sits there and goes zzz, 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 all the way around the plate. And there's a number here. It says 1944, and I don't think, no, it says 79, I think 7944. So that's this plate was numbered, which is kind of cool. And there's the jewels here on the bottom, and it looks like they're in settings, and it looks like they're screwed in from the other side, which is really interesting. So, and again, what I've always done with my watch work is I just take a photograph of this before I start diving in too much. So get a photograph of it with my iPhone, and that way I'm not too worried. Now, one thing that this doesn't seem to have is a dial washer. And it would normally have a dial washer, and the washer is put on top here, and it keeps the dial down because the washer is curved and it presses up against the face of the watch. So that's the dial washer. So I may add a dial washer to this movement. So, but let me just get some of these parts out of the way. Just very carefully lift the parts. And these are brass. And it looks like, look, this whole mechanism here looks pretty complex. Yeah, I really have to decide whether I want to take that apart and for what reason, because it looks fairly clean, and I'll just have a better look at it after. But there's always a chance when you remove parts from a pocket watch that you're going to screw something up. And when I say that, I mean that there's a chance you might break a spring. Like, for example, there's a spring here just resting against this click spring here on the bottom of the barrel, right? And if I take this spring off and for some reason the tension breaks this click spring here, I have to source another one somehow, which is almost impossible. So these mechanisms will not affect the performance of the watch in general. I'll say in general because they will if these wheels are involved. So the winding mechanism won't, but these wheels will. So I just have to decide whether I want to play with that. I do have to take the Canon pinion off, and I should probably do that soon. And I'll use my Canon pinion remover to do that. But I do also have to take this wheel off right here, because I want to remove this wheel. And that's part of the, this is the hour wheel. And it looks like there's a secondary wheel here too. So this is a very interesting movement. Again, so I will oil this. I don't want to piss Bori off, but this is a gorgeous watch, and I do not want to play with these springs. These are very old. I like this spring right here, and I need to oil that because it's not dirt in there. There's a little bit of corrosion there. So anyway, so I'm just going to hum and hoo and ha about this. Figure it out. Get the watch running well, and then see if I want to take it apart. Now I'm going to take this wheel out here in the middle because I don't want to have it in there while I'm removing the Canon pinion. That screw, I loosened the screw up just a bit a few seconds ago, so just in case you look at that. So that's the perfect size of perfect size. Now I made a video the other day where I was working on that Waltham watch. There we go. And I grouped my parts together so I know that the screws are with the right part. So I was working on the Waltham watch, and when I was doing that, I broke a screw in one of these movement things, but because I have 5,000 screws, let me just reach back. I gotta get my Canon pinion puller here. Because I have so many screws, I was able to replace it. And the funny thing is that I found the screw within seconds of losing it, so or breaking it. So I want to pull down on this. I don't want the edge of this puller to rest against any gear at all. So I usually rest it down like this and make sure it's over either the top part or the next part. So, and then I just pray that the thing is grabbing properly, because it's sometimes the Canon pinion has a hard time coming out with these things. Let me just look at the other side and make sure there's no issue at all. Yeah, and you can use tweezers to take out a Canon pinion. This is a lot safer, but I got these little claws, and sometimes the claws won't fit properly over the watch. So they do go down and get out of the way. So I just want to make sure there's no gears involved here. It is lifting up, which is nice. Oh, there we go. It's done. It's out. See? And it just poops it right out again. So that's the safest way of removing a Canon pinion. So there are people, back when I started watch repair years ago, I actually used to use my tweezers. I'd go in there with the tweezers and I'd grab the Canon pinion and I'd brace myself and I'd pull straight up. Well, I owned all these watches, so I wasn't too worried about it. So. And then I bought this what I call the Canon pinion remover. I call it the Velociraptor because of the mouth on the thing, right? It works so well. So it's hard to describe. It's difficult to describe. It's a beautiful Canon pinion remover. I think I'll improve the exposure on this a bit. I'm going to hit automatic and see what it does. It just likes the exposure that it's got right now. But give it a little more light, maybe. There we go. It's a little lighter now. You can still see what I'm doing, though. And I can see what I'm doing too. This is amazing. Amazing. And again, I'm starting and stopping the video just so I don't lose anything on the video. Now the next thing I've got to do is get my world's famous pocket watch holding device, the number 58, it's called. Number 58 watch holding device. And you're seeing me put it down right now. And I've got to get the two things that are for pocket watches and take these ones out. And then just install those. And they're easily installed. I like to make my videos, they're a bit too long probably, but they're informative, that's for sure. So this is a beautiful pocket watch holding device. So you just come in at an angle and you slide these into place like that. And there's a groove right there. So you come in at an angle like this, and you slide that into place like that. And then you make sure they're flat, flatten them out like this. And then you can do this with your pocket watch. Now I want to flip this over to the other side. I may take off the setting handle here first. You see how all that moves all at once? Like that when you set this. So I can, this is not, there's no spring there, which is odd, because I thought there at least would be a spring to hold it back. There may have been a spring because I see a screw right there back in the day, but pretty obviously the spring is no longer there. Now just make sure that the handle there is aligned, and it is perfectly aligned, so when I put this in I'm not messing with any of it, right? So, and I keep the handle on the outside of there, the outside, when I put this down. So let me just see if I can snug it into one side, just make sure everything is clean and clear. I think I'm good. And just put that down like this. Grab that again. Mr. Bunn special. So Bunn, I think in my video I told you the guy's name that started this watch company's name was Bunn. So, and just look around the outside to make sure you're clearing anything that might be stuck out, because if you're not, there's a remote chance that you're going to foul something or bend something on the edge. So you got to get rid of that. So I'm going to remove my Bergeron holder, which is a thing of beauty, and put this back. And for the video, I was watching the word safety pinion. So when I do these watches that are full plate, I take the barrel out first. So I'm just praying that this is the right move here. So again, these old watches don't come with manuals. You just need experience. So I'm gripping this like kung fu again, and then turning it. So it's so I don't have any chance of slipping. I do not want to make any marks on the plates here. That would be a disaster. Definitely a discount in the repair if that happened. So, or a disaster. So, BJ sent me this watch because he's reluctant to dive into this, thinking that he may ruin it. Well, I feel he's probably pretty good at what he does, and it's just a matter of confidence, which comes with time. And so he probably wouldn't have had a problem. But I'm more nervous than he is because this is his watch. So I'm a little bit scared. I'm a scared Sarge. Isn't that what they say in the Army? So again, trying to find a corner that's got where I can lift this plate off and not worry. Hey, perfect. I just found a little edge there, because what I don't want to do is try to use the outside edge where all this beautiful design is, right? So, and I just put that plate with its where it belongs, and usually you can lift these right up and then slide them out, as I recall. But I know that the bottom of it is in the square. It's being held in this square thing, right? So this could be tricky. There we go. And then straight out. And if you look down, put that around the side. If I look down through the hole, there's a gear, and the gear has got a square hole in that gear, right down through the center there. And that square hole is what's on the bottom holding that barrel together. So, and I'm going to be taking this barrel apart. One thing I'm really glad for this watch is that the barrel is a pretty simple barrel. It's not one of these double going barrel cross whatever barrels. So I'll be taking that barrel off for sure, and then removing the mainspring from that barrel. Now, while I'm up here, I'm going to remove this screw here, which is the retaining screw for the pocket watch. So that's an Illinois 24 jewel Bunn special. I'm going to look that up later and then show you what this watch is, right? Just so you know. Now there it is. There's all the watch there. And if you look, when I take this plate off, if you look inside there, you'll see that the pallet fork is a different arrangement for these watches. They're tricky as heck to get in, but I've figured a way of using Rodico to I put the pallet fork in the top part, and I use Rodico to actually put it down. So, which is a different way of doing it, but I found it works really well. So I'll loosen the plate, the screws for the plate here. They should all be the same type screws. If they're not, then I'll take a photo or something and look through the edge here to make sure there's no nonsense going on. When I remove this, it doesn't go bang or something. But I haven't worked on a full plate for a little while, but it's not too bad. I've worked on some crazy stuff lately. So, and I was also sent a watch from the same gentleman that's got a jewel missing. It's not a high movement, but it's got a jewel that's cracked. It's not missing, it's cracked. Now, if you noticed, I only had to take 2 screws out here, these two, because these 2 screws are held in by the plate that's holding the mainspring barrel. And again, being very careful, take a smaller screwdriver and get in on the edge, right? So, and I actually don't have to use my see here, my watchmaker's bench for this particular movement. Now what I don't want to do is pull this straight up, because I'll bend the escapement. So I just loosen that up, Anyway, patience, a lot of patience. Got to be a doctor, a lot of patience. I think I got that loosened up here, and then loosen this one up. There we go, and then pull that out, and then sideways. And there, it just came out. And there's the movement. Now I take a picture of this, right? And the only reason I usually take a picture of this is so I can get a picture of the palette fork, right? And that arrangement for the palette fork. So, but there it is. It's a thing of beauty. Let me get a photo of that. Yeah, what a nice watch. Hopefully I can get this thing working exactly as it worked before. So get everything out of the way and then start picking parts up. And I want to be very careful when I pick parts up. I usually pick them and then drop them, because if you hold them and if you look at this, it's like it's not your typical arrangement. Let me take another picture here, because the escapement is above the other one, so I just have to take a quick photo of that, and that way when I get stupid later on, I remember how to put these in. So I think that's why these watches of movements lasted so long, is because they were made so simply that they just had to work, right? There was no issue at all about them working properly. So grab, this is the seconds hand here, so I'll put that with the seconds hand facing upward. I don't want to have to repivot that, and then this should come straight up because of the Canon pinions out. And I can have a quick little look here and see if there's any jewel issues here that I can just see outright. And I don't see any. These are interesting settings. The settings are screwed in from the bottom. That is kind of weird. Anyway, I'm going to have a quick look at that. I'm going to look at this under the microscope very quickly and see if there's any issues at all. It's funny how the video or camera flashed really quick. Weird. I'm going to look under this microscope to see if I've got any issues with the jewels at all. So this watch warrants the use of a brand new piece of Rodico. Yes, keep it clean, Jerry, keep it clean. Alright, so I've got the microscope is under my very nice, see if I can get a better shot of this here. I think I need to tighten my ball on my camera here. I'll just do that while we're talking. And this is my very nice stereo microscope here. It's a piece of artwork, and I use that to get deep down and dirty. These are my Bluetooth headphones. I got a couple of watch crystals or faces I've been working on, and my Russian watch. So you get some, but it's very difficult to film this because when I turn my light on here with this here, everything goes super bright, and I don't think there's any way of getting rid of that. There we go. I've got a CMOS camera stuck in one of the lenses of my stereo microscope, and we are looking at the centered jewel. So if I were to put let me use a toothpick so I don't screw anything up. If I were to put a toothpick in there, you'd see the toothpick within seconds. There's the toothpick. So, and I can look through my center of my microscope and point at things. So that's toothpick, center of the hole. And if I look at the other jewels, what I want to do here is just slide over. You can see some of the metal on the gears here. And if you slide over and to the, let's say right, try to find another jewel here, going in the wrong direction. Slide over this way, I think, you see another jewel. So there's another jewel there. And I want to center that, so right about there I think is centered. I'm not sure whether down is up or up is down in this thing. So, and it's got the resolution of the CMOS isn't exceptional, but it's not too bad. But look at that. So there's a close-up of that jewel, and that is the, I gotta put my glasses on here, folks, sorry about that. That is the that's the third wheel. So that's the jewel for the third wheel, the intermediate wheel. And there it is there, and it's in good condition. And if I go over to the next wheel here, we just scoot over, scoot over the next wheel. There's the next wheel. So that's actually not in bad condition either. It needs to be cleaned. See all the crud in there? So we need to clean that wheel up, that jewel rather up, because it's kind of poopy. And I'll slide over to this one here. This one looks the poopiest. But when I looked up close to this jewel, I don't think it's damaged. Although I need to have a closer look at that, because it does look like it might have issues. So I was hoping I wouldn't have any issues with jewels on this watch, but if I zoom in on this, right, which I can go pretty darn close on this thing, and turn up the intensity of the lighting, and then I zoom in and see if I can zoom in on this. Yeah, there it is there. I'm going to have a closer look at that. I think the circle is okay, but it looks like there's caked oil around the upper left and lower right hand side. So if I look at this jewel again under the magnification, then I can see this pretty darn close. But if I look at this side here and the other side there, it looks like there's caked oil in there. But it actually doesn't look like the jewel hole itself is that bad. So I'm going to just smudge that a bit with Rodico and have a look at that. Now you can't do this kind of work unless you've got a stereo microscope. You can't really get in there tight like I'm getting in right now. It's just almost impossible. So it's, yeah, as I clean that up, I think I can see the jewel hole now. Now that's the back of the jewel. So I may be looking through a cap on that jewel. So I'm going to have to look at that and see what what I'm looking at there. So that's that jewel there. And then let me just move that to the next one over here, the final one here. And this one here as well, looks dirty, but it looks complete. So I don't think I've got issues with the jewels, but we shall see. We shall see. And if I flip that over again and look at the jewels from the other side, close up, just flip that this way here. That's the inside or back side or whatever. Open up the movement holder nicely, and then just tuck this in. I got to make sure there's the lever for the lever escapement is not in the way. So there's the center jewel here. So I'm having issues with focus or something. Let me back it up a bit. I may be way too close. So I don't want to be seeing the hairs on the fleas bag with this thing. So I just move that over and around. I think if I look through my second, there. My second one allows me to center it better. So there we go. So that's nice right there. So that's the center jewel from that side, right? So, and that's nice. And if I look at the other jewels here, I've got to go this way. And there's that one there. And that one looks like it's in fairly good condition. Again, it's a CMOS microscope, or a CMOS camera that I shoved into my microscope. Is not like, it's not super high, but it's actually pretty good. There, I'm focusing it in a bit, and there you can see it. So I think what you're seeing on the other side is the cap for that jewel. So I think that I'm going to have to look again at closer with the stereo microscope after I finish doing this nonsense, and make sure that that is the cap on the other side, because it does look like it's the cap, and the jewels are completely dried out. And there's the next one over, and it's completely dried out, but the jewel hole looks fine on this. And the next one over is this one here, and again the jewel hole looks fine on this one, and I progressively went the wrong way, but anyway, still not bad. And there's the teeth. Yeah, so there it is there. That's the one. So anyway, that's a look at the jewel holes. You can see the dirt in that one, right? Holy Jesus, Martha, get out the broom. There's a lot of dirt in that one. So Yeah, I think today's video I'm going to disassemble and clean, and then I'll do the reassembly in a separate video because it's going to be way too long. So that's the jewel. Those are the jewel holes, and that gives you an idea of what they look like under magnification. And if you look at some of the gears under magnification, just so you can see what they look like. As I move over to a gear here, let me see if I can find the teeth of a gear. This is a pinion. Might be a little bit dark. Let's see, I need the teeth of a gear. Where are you, gear teeth? How about the gears for the mainspring? There we go. Look at that. So that is the gears for the mainspring, and that is not even zoomed up. So if I zoom in more, I can get pretty friggin' close. That is one tooth. That is one mainspring tooth right there. Look at that. So that's, and let me see if I can get any better quality of video here. So that's times 70, so you can see the metal on that. And then right below it, I zoomed below, you can actually see scratches on that metal. So when you look at a watch movement, it doesn't look like it's got all the scratches on the metal, but this metal is cut with tools, and the tools leave scratches, and you can't see them. They try to polish these off. If you've bought a Rolex watch, Rolex will spend weeks polishing off the metal. So that's about as good as I can get that tooth looking. So that's the tooth. So anyway, that's a really good look at up close through the microscope, stereo microscope of this. So using a CMOS camera stuck in one of the lenses. So as I look at these, the face of this watch again and these jewels, I just picked the movement up here. I can see that on this side, the screws are on this side, right? Which means that they're holding the jewel in place. There's a cap jewel here, right? So that's actually a jewel it's capped, and I can see by the reflection that it's capped. And I flip this the other way, and the screws are on the inside of these jewels. So what I need to do is loosen these screws, and then I believe I'm going to push the jewel out. There's little needle marks here because I think that there's a needle mark there to pop the cap off, but this is not the cap side. This is the jewel side. So you'd be popping the jewel off. So I think I can take these screws out, like these two screws out that will be retaining this, right? And then on this side, you can see that it's just sort of, there's a setting, so it's sitting in there, and the rim is there. So I'm going to go under my stereo microscope again. I'm going to measure the distance of that rim. So let me show you up close, okay? Alright, so here it is, this jewel right here. So I've got a jewel, and this is the cap side of the jewel. So the cap is sitting there, and it's in a setting, and I believe the setting has a rim on the inside. And if I were to unscrew from the other side and push down from this side with a stake from the staking set, it should pop the jewel in the setting out. I'm going to show you from the other side that exact same jewel. I try to line it up here. There it is there. So that's the exact same jewel. And when I look really closely at this jewel, I can see that the setting, there's two screws here, but this is the actual jewel with the jewel hole on this side. So it's odd as heck, this kind of a configuration. So what I want to do is I measure with my stereo micrometer. I'm going to measure the length between here and here, and I think it's your lucky day because I just procured a lens that, let me just show you this. I just procured a lens that allows me to do that. Alright, so here is the lens. It's a DFHW times 10 lens, and there's the lens there. And this lens, I pop out my eyepiece. This is an eyepiece, and you can focus this eyepiece as well. And inside this eyepiece, you see that little X? You can almost see it here, right? There's a little bit of an X there. See if I put my glove on the other side. Can you see the X? If I put it this way, you can see kind of a line. Well, there's a very fine ruler inside there, a gradient. It's supposed to a gradient with us, or a reticle, right? A reticle. Well, you can kind of see it there. So there's a reticle there, and that reticle allows me to measure the distance of micro objects to 0.01 millimeters. So I throw that in, and I'm going to have a look under my stereo microscope and see what the distance is between those two holes, and that way I know if there's a rim on the inside. So looking at that hole, it looks like it's 32 units across that reticle. Reticle? Is that right? Whatever. And on the other side of that jewel setting, it's 29 units, which means there's a rim across a diameter of 3 units. I really don't need to know what those units are, but I just need to know it was smaller on one side than the other. So if I take a screw off, I can pop that jewel out. And I'm going to be doing that in the next video. I don't think I want to do that in this video. I just want to take some time. I'll produce this video so you can watch it. I'll produce this video so you can watch it, and then I'll deal with the jewel work after. Maybe videotape one of them, but all three it's going to drive me nuts to do all three. So anyway, that's it for now, and we'll work a little bit later on this.